All right, everybody. We are back again for another episode of The Coach's Compass. Remember, it is season 2. Don't know what episode it is. We just continue to roll. Continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. It's your boy, Coach Coop, and a special guest, my little one, Leia, with us today. Coach Jay could not be with us today just because, he's in Hungary trying to figure out those time differences. Shoot, we had a hard enough time trying to figure out the time to get Coach Homer on here, right? But remember, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we can continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. And remember, turn on your alerts so you'll be reminded when we drop the episode. But like I said, we got Coach Hummer with us here today. He is a strength and conditioning coach out of the University of Georgia, working with softball, golf, and gymnastics. Coach, welcome and thank you for being here with us today.
I appreciate you having me on. Happy to be here. And like you said, a few weeks in the works getting this on here, but glad we finally got it working.
Yeah. So, Coach, what got you into the strength and conditioning field, man? Like, what brought you to this side of the world?
Yeah, growing up, my father was a high school football, baseball coach in our small town in Ohio for 30-some years till he retired. So it was literally from 1994 till I was playing there. I was either at football or baseball practice. That was our babysitter. It was a little easier for Mom to just let us, and we ran around. So it was always around sport, around coaching. Was lucky enough to get a scholarship to Notre Dame College in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a Division II school. Played football up there for 2 years. And it was in that time I was more on like the sport business side of things. That's what I was looking to do. And then did a summer internship at Kent State with their strength program there with football. And within 2 weeks of that internship is like, yeah, no, this is definitely, I was already kind of leaning like I want to go strength and conditioning. Like I said, being around coaching was that, but just realized like, sport coach being football, no, wasn't really going to be for me, but I liked that. And then it was, like most strength coaches, was one of those of enjoyed the weight room, saw the benefits it gave me to play and that ability to give back and help others, achieve their goals. But it was, it's wild when you think back and look at it of that decision to doing summer internship within 2 weeks. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I left my scholarship, transferred to Kent State and finished up my undergrad there, stayed interning. So worked with football. It's a MAC school. So Mid-American Conference, and there it's football. And then that same weight room, they have 2 on campus, pretty much outdoor sports are out at football. So it's football, baseball, softball, soccer, field hockey, track and field, trained out of that weight room. So worked predominantly with those sports. And then, the way of coaching of the former Kent State baseball coach gets hired at Georgia, brought my mentor with him to Georgia. And that was summer of 2013. I then stayed the rest of that fall, and my mentor called, was like, hey, no, you got to do one more internship for graduation for your undergrad. Why don't you come down to Georgia? And that was, that took all 30 seconds to be like, yeah, no, let's do that. I'd rather
easily convince you.
So we got down to, he didn't have to work too hard at that one, but that was January 2014. And I would probably say by like February, my now boss approached my mentor and myself and was like, hey, our grad assistant graduates in May of 2015. Would you like to stay on and you'll be our next GA? And again, that took all of like, I was like, oh, I'll think about it. And then walked out of the office, just turned right back around, walked in, was like, yep, nope, let's, handshake deal. We're good. Let's go. So I was at Georgia then 2014 fall into July of 2015. I was then the pro intern and then was able to go into our grad school program as a graduate coach in fall of 2015, 2016. And then I left before graduating a semester early, was lucky enough, got a full-time job at Boston College, was there for 2017 until November of 2018, got a job at University of Virginia, was there November of 18 until January of 2020, and came back to Georgia in February 1 of 2020 was my start date. And then the world shut down a month later, and I thought I just made a massive mistake as I was the last person hired in athletics. I may be the first one out once COVID hit, but we're very lucky here at UGA that we didn't have any cuts or layoffs or anything like that. And it was a weird spring and summer for that first one. And I've been here ever since, and then was very lucky of I'm sitting in my new office out here that our softball program, athletics, we're a very historically good softball program. And we just built a $38 million softball facility. Included in is a 4,500 square foot weight room that I got to design. My boss let me run it. Worked with Sornex for all of our equipment, play flooring, and all the bells and whistles. And then this weight room is then softball, women's soccer, and men's and women's golf train out of this facility.
Wow, bro, you've got a chance to do it all. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you. There it is.
Cool. Now, don't worry, AI will cut this part out. But man, that's a crazy journey. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like being able to go all over the place.
Yeah.
And now you're back at UGA and you've been able to build a $38 million facility, right? $38 million. Have you wrapped your mind around like how much money that is that she was given to you to be able to build?
It's a ton. It was, yeah. And it's, if you look at it, it's like 4 parts of the building. We're in the weight room. Directly above us is the softball new hitting facility, which is a fully turfed infield, 4-lane batting cages. Soccer just got done there they host the first round of playoffs tomorrow. It's raining here today in Georgia, and they are able to it's big enough there to do a miniature practice inside and get out of the elements for a bit. And then the other half of the building is the new softball's team room, kind of team lounge, video room, locker rooms, athletic training, all that stuff is the other parts of the building. So one quarter of it was able to build out, which was very cool.
That's incredible, man.
And that was like 2.5 years. Yeah, that was like 2.5 years in the making of that too.
Yeah. So what's it like to go from, you go from Kent State, then you go Georgia, then you go to UVA, and you're all over the place, right? Different places. What's it like to be back at UGA, arguably one of the best places when it comes to facilities and equipment and everything you guys have to use? What's it like to be back there and have access to this stuff?
Very lucky. It's one of those of, like you said, we're at UGA. It's not only that you're in the SEC. I'm very lucky. I'm working with some of the top athletes in the country in their given sport. It makes my job really easy. I love using the analogy of the weight room is the garage. I'm the mechanic. The athlete's the car. I'm in here. We're increasing some horsepower. We're putting a fresh coat of paint on them, some new wheels, anything like that. I give it to the coach and the athlete, and they go drive it. One of those. It makes my job easier when I got Lamborghinis and BMWs and all that stuff rolling into the garage to work with than 96 Toyota Corollas. So it's I keep it pretty easy. I look at it as them. I train them as an athlete. We're here to play, a certain sport, not lift weights. So if they're healthy and they're on the field or in the lineup or anything like that and available to play, that's the best thing for them. But it is very, like you said, to sit back and look at where I'm at and where I came from. It's wild to think decisions you make a decade ago, how that affects where you are now. And, very lucky of the people I've crossed paths with during that time and the coaches I've met and the relationships I've built, not only within coaching, but also within athletics, is kind of what got me back here. And it was a very easy choice when Georgia called and they had an opening, knowing one coming back with the staff that I got to work with was the staff that kind of molded me between my director and Katrin Koch, assistants Sean Hayes and Josh Rucci, and my mentor who is an assistant. Then he's now at Arkansas and Ryan Gerhardt, where it's like those are the people that kind of built me into who I was and helped me learn the ins and outs, especially at the big Division I level in a Power 5 school, to come back and then be from an intern under him and a mentee to same level. And those are my coworkers, not, who I answer to.
That's awesome. What has been, so you went from football though, like working at Kent State, like doing the internship and stuff, to now working with softball, golf, and gymnastics. What are some of the biggest differences that you have to implement, like when it comes to designing their programs for however many weeks you go on for your periodization and the blocks that they're on? And then also working when it comes to females to males, you know what I mean? Like what is the huge differences that you're seeing?
Yep. That was a choice made. My mentor let me know, it's like, hey, if you come down here, you're coming to the Olympic side, and especially in the collegiate realm, it's the one or the other. Now it's almost splitting into 3s or 4s of it. You got football, a lot of big time basketball programs are their own. That's all they're working with. Baseball is kind of leading that way now as well. And then the rest of your sports. I think it's helped me be a better coach because in my time between here at Boston College, at UVA, I've worked with equestrian, diving, men's tennis, golf, helped with swim. I've helped with baseball. I've helped with soccer. I've overseen soccer. I've done men's and women's lacrosse. I've done cross country. I was women's basketball at BC for a season. Like there's men's and women's ice hockey. There's not a sport that I rowing. BC we had downhill skiing. So it's one of those of being able to learn how to coach different athletes just makes you a better coach. And you just got so many reps. But the biggest thing is I'm not training them different. Like they're still all being held accountable. I don't care what it is. Sometimes I think it's, if anything, it's the intensity, and it's one of those, and you learn from coach to coach. In my role, strength coach, I'm part of a support staff for 3 different programs, being softball, gymnastics, and men's golf. Men's golf, it's a unique, golfers, unique sport and mindset. Gymnasts, unique sport, unique mindset, unique training style. Softball, unique sport, unique mindset. So it's all different types of athletes, and it makes it very fresh day in and day out that I'm training 3 different sports compared to football. Sometimes it's, hey, you're doing the same lift 4 rounds in a row with the same guys, which was enjoyable. Like that's one where it's like, hey, that's the testosterone driven, we're rocking, we're rolling, be ready to go, and then get to see the collisions that you build come to the field on Saturday or during my time in the MAC, Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, midweek action. But now it's the same thing. So it's unique. Softball it's a long season. We start in February, and the goal is to be playing in June, to make it to the World Series. And that's three games a weekend, 4 games a week. So it's a game Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then you get Monday for us is usually our off day. We train Tuesday, practice, game Wednesday, train again Thursday with practice, or they're on the road traveling to their next spot. So it's a quick in and out, and that's a big one in season on keeping those bodies healthy. Gymnastics, very much like football, where it's 1 competition a week. So I can kind of build it that way, and we kind of follow that model. They're a competition Friday, Saturday off, Sunday practice train, Monday practice train, Tuesday off, Wednesday practice train, Thursday get ready for a meet at home, or they're traveling to the next spot. So it's one, and you can that's a much easier to periodize because you're working around 1 competition a week. Men's golf is the unique one for us, our guys are traveling everywhere. Our men's golf never hosts a home match. So we're either traveling around the Southeast, or they're going across multiple time zones. Like they just finished their fall season in Hawaii. So that was, they left on a Wednesday to play Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then got back. I think they left Hawaii, they said at Monday at 10 p.m. and they landed in Atlanta through Seattle at 3:30 p.m. Tuesday. So that's one of those. So that's big, working around those bodies and the time zone changes and all that stuff. And especially with them, some days I won't see guys when they're in the heart of their season. I may not see, like, they have 6 guys travel, 5 guys are the scoring scores that they're going to take. But 2 or 3 of the top guys that are consistently in there, I may not see them for 2 weeks. So that's unique one of, you got to meet them where they're at, So I'm very big, especially in the in season. Again, we're at Georgia. Are very lucky what we have at our disposal. So using some of the sports science tech we go gym wear for our velocity-based training. I'm big with that, the in-season, especially with our golfers. Same with softball and gymnastics, because it's one of those when they're in season, day-to-day, athlete to athlete in the same rack. Hey, 80% for me feels like 70%. I'm in a great spot. Let's move it. 80% for you is feeling like 100. You're tired. You just got back because I didn't travel and you did. I don't want to bury you, and we're not going to get anything out of it. So then I can use the, gym wear systems to go velocity based, and then, hey, let's work in a parameter of bar speed compared to load on.
No, that's awesome. What is it? Well, what is it like though? You're working with 3 sports. I don't know that much about golf, right? Because I know it's a year-round sport too. But gymnastics and softball, right?
Yep.
2 sports I would arguably say that are heavily, like, especially when they come down to the youth age, they're just done year-round. Right, like they're like don't really do much outside of those 2 sports, especially when it comes to gymnastics. I know softball has become huge now with like travel balls, and you play in season, they get it out, and then you got summer ball, all this stuff. How have you seen that kind of impact the athletes when they kind of come into college now that they don't have all of that workload on them? And does it, speaking to parents, is it hard to get a parent to realize, like, hey, they don't need to be playing a game or a tournament every weekend, especially when it comes to softball? Gymnastics, obviously, competition is a little bit different, but they start really young. It's like, is there a balance between all of this?
Yeah, I think one is, they play less. That's the biggest. Is it's almost they're so used to such a high level of output every weekend where it's, the softball travel tournament, they're playing 8 games in 2 to 3 days where, the most we're playing is maybe our early season tournament. We'll play 5 and 3. We'll catch a doubleheader one of those days. So it's usually like one game Friday, double Saturday, one game Sunday. Or that'd be 4. 5 is double Friday, double Saturday, one Sunday. There it is. That's the most that we'll catch in a softball tournament in college. But once we hit the meat of the season, we're in SEC play. It's 4 games over a 7-day span. Excuse me. The gymnastics world, I'm new, so I started working with them in January of 2022. So this is now my 3rd season with them. Learning that was one, Georgia's historically, they got 10 national titles to their name as a program. So it's one of those I helped with them when I was the GA to then come back. And it's one of those where it's, you got so many different injuries that are built from doing it from such a young age, that it's okay. One, the force that they create when they land on a floor pass, on a vault, when they stick a landing on anything, it's like, one, we cannot recreate that any way, shape, or form naturally, like in the weight room, especially safely, not going to happen.
You don't want to.
So one of those, I've seen them. No, not at all. Not at all. One is they are, and I enjoy it. I'm good with, you do the recruiting talks, all that. I ask them, like, do you train currently? And if some are like, no, I don't, I'm like, perfect. Because guess what? You don't have any bad habits, anything. We start from day one when they come in July. Hey, we're ground zero and we get to build our way up. And I'm one, and our entire staff is, hey, you're going to learn how to do the movement correct. And then once we do that, then we can progress. We're going to add weight, progress movement style, anything along those lines. And then at the same time, hey, we got to regress sometimes where it's this injury just occurred. Let's back it off. How are we going to do that? Softball is the same, but again, gymnastics. I think their biggest is not from my end, but more of the day to day. So we have a lot of elite level gymnasts, which that's the one of, hey, you are homeschooled. You just go to the gym and you're at the gym doing gymnastics for 4 hours. You take a 2-hour break and you do class and eat. You do a second 4-hour session in the afternoon. Like they live at those gyms. Now you're in, college, you're in NCAA rules. Your max you're going to be able to do for any day is 4 hours. And you got class on top of it. But so that's some of the freshmen we have right now is early on is like, we're not doing anything because from what they're used to, we're doing 50% of what they used to do on a day-to-day basis. So that's unique working with that. But then also at the same time of like, hey, but how are we feeling? Oh, my body feels great. Cool. That's where we're at. Softball is the same. It's one of those, like you said, I think with all the tournament play and everything, and so many kids are just so over specialized now because they are starting at a young age and just going one sport. You're not really catching so many multi-sport athletes anymore. With that is just some of the injuries you get coming in that I'm working with for 4 to 5 years of working around with people. But no, it's different now than when I started, this coaching journey in 2012 and being a GA in 2015 or whatever is completely different, world. Even now with all the new NCAA bylaws and NIL and all that stuff, that's changed it as well. So it's a little wild.
Yeah, with that wild world of NIL deals and transfer portal and everything like that, how do you deal with conflict, or what's your best conflict resolution kind of model that you follow, especially when you have athletes that maybe aren't listening or fully buying in, and you're trying to connect with them and trying to communicate with them. How do you find a way to get them to just follow the procedure and just trust the process?
Mm-hmm. Luckily, I haven't had a problem where it comes to NIL deal or anything say, oh, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
One, I think it starts with, the coaches of who you recruit. You bring in good people, you're going to have good people. So it starts there. And it's one of those where it's like, I'm part of the recruiting process. But once I do my spiel on campus and we talk about, we give them the tours and all that, I wait until they show up on, day one of, hey, they signed on the dotted line. They're here now. Until then, it's I let the coaches, that's what they're hired to do. And they're filling their program. And then it's, hey, how do I fit into their program within their sport? But no, I've been lucky where I haven't had any of those problems. But at the same time, I think it's, you start off week one, day one with them on, hey, you set the expectations, you set the rules, and let them know, hey, this is how we do things. I'm very lucky with our softball team where one, our coach is very big with what we do in here and that it has a big impact on the field. One, everything we do in the weight room or in training is to help them be a better softball player. We're not just trying to lift weights. It's, I need you to be faster. We need to be stronger. We need to bulletproof our shoulders, anything along those lines. And he sets aside, just before he got in here, he walked in my office and we went over, hey, here's the day's plan. With it raining, this, and this just got changed. Let's do, instead of a lift post practice, we're going to do 3 little groups throughout the day because we're inside. We're going to do film and we're just going to rotate them that way. Cool. Love it. And the girls love it too. And it's one of those where we've just built an environment and set the standard from when I got here in 2020 with our old coach that was here for, I think Tony Baldwin, our current softball head coach, is only the 3rd coach in Georgia history. You know, Coach Lou Harris-Champer that was here for 20 some years. She set the standard a long time ago, and Tony was a part of her staff and got hired on. And when he came in, we made a bigger impact and wanted to make use of my side a little more with the girls, and the girls enjoy it. I think, one, I like to think that we set a good training environment that they enjoy coming into the weight room and training with their teammates and their time in here. Easy way to do that is, again, I'm very set a few rules because then that's less that you have to enforce, but at the same time, hey, when we work, but we're going to have a good time doing it. I'm one, easiest thing as we're warming up or girls coming in, I just pick out one randomly. Hey, Sarah, what's the music today? It's on you. So what you choose, that's what we're listening to, and then if people want to complain, hey, go talk to Sarah. She's the one. Guess what? Tomorrow, you're the one that gets to choose the music. We'll change it that time, but it's one of those because then they have input with it. And then it's also finding, and I think that's no matter what sport you're working with, you got to find who your linchpins are on the team of, okay, I got to get the buy-in from these two because if they fall in line and they follow it, everyone else is going to buy in with them because you got you got your top 2 dogs in, everyone's going to follow suit.
What is something you would want us to ask our next guest?
Ooh, ask the next guest. I think one, if you're going coaching compass, like what is, I think it's an open-ended one. I hate doing the open-ended question, like what's the best piece of coaching advice, but what is, what's one thing you heard or said that's kind of changed your outlook on coaching, or where, I think this is a good one because I like, reading big with, I like getting outside of strength and conditioning realm because there's so much, after so long, you're just going to end up reading in circles on the same stuff. Like currently my book right now, I'm reading Unreasonable Hospitality by Will, butchering his last name, Goodiara. He is the general manager at 11 Park Madison in New York City, one of the top restaurants in the country, but he's in charge of hospitality. I'm in the people business. Okay. I've already picked up a few things where it's one of those, you go to a conference, you listen to a podcast, you're watching this video, anything like that, you read a book. If you're getting one thing out of that I can then implement into my day-to-day life, and exactly how you said of, okay, how do you get the buy-in from a girl? How do you do, or an athlete? How do you do some conflict resolution? Every person's different. That was literally a chapter on that. He talks their love language, but also no one really talks about what's their tough love language. Some people are like, hey, yell at me, get at me. I'm good if you, and I don't undress people in front of a team, but hey, if you rip me in front of the team, that's what I need. I like being held to a standard. Others is, I got to put my arm around them. We got to talk to the side and be a little more calm. Like, hey, what we're doing isn't working. So this, our mood, our mindset, whatever, we got to change and we got to do it now. And you got to figure that out, but you get that by being around them more. And then we're very lucky at UGA, and my boss is very big on that, on just being at practice as much as we can be. So I'm very lucky of being, gymnastics we're going into the spring semester for 25. They're going to flip and they're going to train in the mornings from like 8 to 11. And then we'll lift after that. So I can be there in the morning. I can be at practice. I can watch them, see how they're doing. Then I can kind of pick up on, hey, how's the mood going to be in our training post-practice session? And then you get to see, okay, what I had planned, we had a pretty hard practice today. Bring them in. Hey, this movement, we had 3 sets. We now got 2. Okay, let's take a little bit out of that there. Leave some in the tank for the next day. I'm at softball practice. I'm lucky enough I get to travel with teams sometimes. And that's the cool one because you're on the bus, you're in the airport, you're hanging out in the hotel, especially when you're on the road. You got a lot of downtime, and you just get to see them. One, you see them as a regular person.
Yep.
They also get to see you as a regular person. So it's one. And I always laugh. I read on the bus, and I don't get why. Do I put off the aura of I'm a meathead? But the girls are always like, "Oh, Hummer, you read? I didn't know." It's like, yeah, I know how to read. Like, what are we doing? I get it every year. I'm like sitting on the bus and a girl walked by, like, I didn't know you read books. It's like, I got 2 degrees. Come on, help me out here.
It's almost like we didn't study or spend a lot of time getting these CSCSs.
Exactly.
All these achievements we have, but no, we're still big
Correct.
meatheads that just like to be in there and throwing around weight.
Yeah. And it's one of those, but it's, I'm very lucky and that our administration allows us to travel, but I got to go to Arkansas with gymnastics last year and get to see be on the floor for the meet, travel with them, see how their day to day is. But then it's also, hey, if coaches ask, like, hey, that was good, but with softball, we do this, or vice versa, where it's like, hey, we do this as like a pregame. In the morning, we do this. Like our softball program, we're big. It's softball, you're also there for 4 days because you're getting in Thursday, you're leaving Sunday. So you got a lot of time. Sometimes if we have the opportunity, we'll train on site at whatever university we're at if they allow us there. Other times we're very big on just getting out and moving. So during a morning hit around, if we're playing a night game, we're at the facility at 8, 9 in the morning, whatever they allow the opposing team, and they set aside for you. If they don't hit for morning hitting, especially the pitchers aren't hitting, but then some, and coach lets the girls decide, hey, do you want to get some hacks in? If you're not, you just save it for the afternoon and for the game, and you're good. You're locked in. I just lead them out, and it's pretty much I just find the nearest Starbucks, and we go on a walk to Starbucks, and then we walk back. We're just out moving. Then if it's close, then we'll walk around campus. You get to see stuff, but it's one, you're outside. They're not on their phones. They're hanging out with each other. You're discussing anything that you want. And again, it's one of those where then you learn them more as a person. And then that's how you can find those buttons to push them. Where it's one of those of, okay, this one, how do I coach this girl compared to the girl training with her in the same rack? I have to coach them 2 different ways.
That's awesome, Coach. Well, Coach, man, we appreciate you jumping on. I appreciate you jumping on and keeping it real and dropping all this knowledge about what you got going on with gymnastics, softball, golf, and just how you got to where you're at now. Because I think that's super important for a lot of us guys that are just now getting started in the field and trying to figure out where we're going, especially if we're on the private sector, you're on the college sector, maybe you're in the pros. Who knows, right? The path always leads down to one way. But thank you so much for your time today, Coach.
I appreciate it, Coach Coop. Anytime.
And we're out.